352 to 65. That was the final tally for the House bill to force China's sale of TikTok due to obvious national security concerns. But in this rare and overwhelming moment of bipartisanship, why the heck is Senator Chuck Schumer not taking swift action to advance the legislation? And while I'm asking questions, if TikTok's claims are true, that it's not controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, why on earth is China so worked up about this?
对 TikTok 的打压
This kind of bullying behavior that cannot win in fair competition disrupts companies' normal business activity, damages the confidence of international investors in the investment environment, and damages normal international economic and trade order. In the end, this will inevitably come back to bite the United States itself.
Threatening us? Huh, why? And would they ever allow a pro-U.S. propaganda outlet to set up business in China? Of course not. And spare us all the concern about the international order. We know what you do on trade. Joining me now is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton and Congressman Mike Gallagher, who sponsored the TikTok bill. Let's start with you, Senator Cotton. TikTok CEO spoke with Fox's Aisha Hasni this afternoon. Watch this.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I intend to clarify it. I haven't heard exactly what we have done that's wrong. As you know, it is very disappointing for us that the bill passed in the House of Representatives. We looked at it. This is a banned bill. In this form, if it's passed into law, this is a ban on our app in this country.
Well, Senator, since he hails from a country that bans free speech and free exercise of religion, he should know that this is not a ban. But the message is working with TikTok users who are all up in arms.
Well, Laura Xiaoqu, the CEO of TikTok, is a communist stooge who has enriched himself through the Chinese Communist Party. The TikTok legislation that passed yesterday through the House, thanks to Congressman Gallagher and House Republican leadership there, should be taken up immediately next week in the Senate by Chuck Schumer. The advocacy you talked about is a perfect example of it, Laura. You had TikTok sending out push notices to the phones of millions of its users, asking them to press a button to call its congressman. What do you think would happen if, say, Donald Trump next year tried to impose tariffs on China, or there's tension or even conflict over Taiwan? Of course, TikTok is a tool of Chinese communist propaganda. And as you said, China would never allow a pro-American news source in its country. It doesn't allow social media companies from this country there. We shouldn't allow TikTok to be owned by a Chinese company that is dominated by Chinese communist influence here.
Congressman Gallagher, the TikTok CEO hails from Singapore. It doesn't mean he's not a CCP stooge. He is. But are you surprised that so many on the right are making the argument that this is just going to give the government the opportunity to ban conservative websites or other websites on pretextual grounds, that we can't trust the government in this case, even though it involves China?
Well, as a conservative, I don't start from a place of trusting the government, which is why we crafted this bill so narrowly so that it could not be used in order to give the executive branch authority to go after any individual in America or any American company. I get it. Our social media companies are a woke disaster as well. But this bill is about foreign adversary control of what is increasingly the dominant news platform in America. And these people are arguing against a bill that does not exist. There is no authority in this bill that would allow the executive branch to go after an American company. The other lie that TikTok has been telling is that this is somehow about free speech. It is absolutely not. It is about foreign adversary control of a social media company and therefore the ability of a foreign adversary to inject dangerous propaganda into the minds and into the phones of millions of Americans. And I have to give credit to Senator Cotton, who was at the forefront of illuminating the dangers posed by CCP control of TikTok. And we would not be where we are today were it not for his leadership.
Well, both of you have been absolutely phenomenal on the China issue for years. Congressman Gallagher, I can't believe you're retiring. I'm very depressed about that. I wish you weren't. But Senator Cotton, we're even seeing this in our school systems. As you pointed out, I don't know if Congressman Gallagher, you know about this website, is it tutoring.com, which is a Chinese-based, it's tutor.com, and it's being used by Northern Virginia public school systems. We find out it's essentially a Chinese firm that is collecting all sorts of data. It's owned by the Primavera Capital Group, which is a Chinese investment firm.
Yeah, Laura,
Well,
this company is owned by not.
We'll go Senator
Go
first,
ahead.
then come back to Congressman Gallagher.
Yeah, it's owned by this group that's close ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and it's not just public schools, Laura. It's our own Department of Defense. You know, I demanded answers from the Department of Defense recently. We haven't gotten satisfactory answers yet, but I find it hard to imagine we're going to get satisfactory answers. Why would our Department of Defense be using a Chinese-owned tutoring site for service members or families when it puts at risk the data and the privacy of all of our troops and their families? There's more than enough American tutoring services that our own government, especially our own military, should be using. We shouldn't be using one with close ties to Chinese communists.
Well, it also has ties, Congressman Gallagher, to ByteDance. I mean, ByteDance is everywhere, right? I mean, they're obviously extremely wealthy, powerful, CCP-connected company. But they have their paws connected with this firm as well.
They absolutely do. And the core point about ByteDance is that it is beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. ByteDance has had to apologize in the past for failing to follow appropriate political control from the CCP. They've had to hire thousands of censors to ensure that they, in the future, follow that appropriate political control. And we also have major American investors who have billions on the line, having invested in ByteDance, that are now using that money to lobby against any action in the House and the Senate. They are weaponizing the D.C. swamp against us, which is why we need to stand up against this and pass this legislation before it's too late.
Yeah. Drain the swamp. Let's make it a reality. Senator, Congressman, thanks so much.